discuss Dustin. Is Dustin here?
Yes.
Want to come up and join us?
Sure.
We can give wherever you are. So I brought it up last week. Tony asked, kind of agreed to approach Dustin and see what his thoughts were. The benefit that I see, a couple of benefits I see with Dustin is we can give him a 90-day contract to be our engineer, and that would make him a permanent engineer, and we believe all of the projects can continue as is. If we do an agreement with Pot County, our projects are going to be held up. Our state funding is going to be tied up, and it's not going to be available to us. But by doing this with Dustin, we are able to continue with our projects. Correct?
As far as I've been told.
The other benefit I see with Dustin is he can help us with hiring a new engineer, and I feel he will be looking out for Harrison County's best interest versus Pot County is just want to get an engineer hired so that they can go back to as was. Visiting with Sarah briefly. With Pot County, we would have to do a 2080 agreement. There's no way around that.
I think John Rasmussen is open to doing a 28E. I think that it would be the most prudent for the county to do the 28E and file it with the recorder's office. That's typically what you do when you're sharing with an adjacent county. So
what's the time frame of getting that done?
I held off on doing either until the board acted and decided whom they wanted to fill. Drafting either contract, it could be done by the end of next week.
My personal opinion, what's best for Harrison County, I believe, is Dustin.
My concern is Dustin, is that you have contracts with the county. You have a contract with the county that's not over.
For sure.
And you're very busy with your own business. That's my biggest concern, I guess, why I would maybe go with Rasmussen just because, or, county, because they don't have contracts with the county.
Are any of your contracts with secondary roads?
Conservation only right now.
Right, but his business is some of the stuff, dirt work and that type of stuff. I mean, you do a lot of that type of stuff.
Yeah, we wouldn't, the attorney knows the best, but if I had a contract with you guys, I probably can't bid on stuff like that.
Right.
I would not bid on stuff like that during that time.
Yeah.
Just conflict of interest, obviously.
Sarah, do you think it's a conflict of interest if he's already got that contract let in the middle of the project?
No, I don't think that it's a conflict if he already has bid on it and he's been awarded it. I think that it would be part of his contract that he would not be allowed to continue to do that during his interim as county engineer.
To bid on future work.
During the time that you're employed by the county.
Yep.
Knowing that you guys were going to talk about it. Megan has it.
Okay,
Same as kid.
so we just grabbed some figures for the road use tax, since that's one of the things that will be held up if you don't. So you average a little over $400,000 a month in road use tax, so that would be on hold until you hire a new engineer.
And we can't
But you cannot bring that revenue in.
with John Rasmussen. Do we have this position posted? It needs to be in the paper, like it's not yet, is it?
Steven said he posted it, I don't know what
That's
he did.
something that would be up to whoever the engineer.
I know your farm to market funds, when I was at the other county, are 200,000 to 300,000 more than Winona. So you're at like 1.3 or 1.4 million a year farm to market. That's part of it, and then all the, it's called HBP, it's bridge funds. Those allocate, but you can't use them. So it just depends on what you have going on. And I don't know how much time commitment it's going to be because I don't know the state of what you guys have going on.
Right, and that's my concern, is like, how do you balance?
I would say the best would be to me to go there and see what they have going on. So I tried to call yesterday and today and they didn't answer. Maybe they're at a meeting or something. But just to see what all they have going on and what state it's in.
Yeah.
To then be able to give you a better estimate of timing.
Yeah.
Because without that, I have no clue.
Do you have any guys now?
What?
Do you have an amount you thought about what you would charge? charge us?
It all depends on how many hours, you know? If it's a few hours, it's probably gonna have to be more than what it would be if it was more.
Would it be a amount per hour, do you think?
I would say let me do a little research first and then we can discuss it when Tony's here too.
Okay.
That would make me feel more comfortable.
Right.
I think that what the board really needs to decide is in the interim, whether or not your intent is to keep the lights on, or whether your intent is to move forward on design and construction engineering services. So that's gonna be the big difference between the two that you've chosen. I think
I
you've
agree with
chosen qualified candidates. It really comes down to what your desire is during that period.
Yep, I agree with that.
So the difference would be Pot County keeps the lights on,
Correct.
Dustin moves forward with the design.
If Dustin agrees to that,
Just depends on the situation and what you guys have going on. I can tell that if we can access the systems.
Right.
So I don't know if the other office staff know how to get in there or what they actually do.
Yeah.
I had it to where I had a lot of people that did most of the stuff and I did the upper level stuff, the day-to-day operation stuff. So if that's how he had it set up, then it won't be too bad. But if he was intermixed and sitting in there all day working on stuff, that's time commitment. Huge time commitment.
Something else that I thought about, if we do go with Pot County, and that's essentially just keeping the lights on, we'll probably have to consider layoffs in the office, in the engineer's office. Because I don't know as that support staff is going to have work. If we're not moving forward with design stuff, I don't know why we need to keep people on payroll that aren't doing anything.
Just depends on what you have. If you have, like you said, you mentioned a local project that you put on hold. You have local projects that are going on right now, because those can still go on without that. But I don't know what they have going on, so I can't tell you. But I can do research until next week.
Okay, let's put
And,
it,
and I would like to put it till next week. Here's where I struggle. Dustin is I'm gonna be this transparent. I ran on the fact I was gonna be transparent. Dustin is my neighbor.
For sure.
I thought back when Dustin was at Monona County, remember, I wanted to try to get you down here.
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm against Dustin doing the job, it will be a struggle, it could be a struggle as far as, you're my neighbor, I don't wanna piss you off, I don't wanna, that kind of thing, so
Yeah.
I have to do this on a basis of, I'm looking at the position, and if we come to you with something,
For sure.
it's,
I know how to deal with a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
I don't need this, but I wanna help if I can.
right,
That's my goal, I guess.
Right.
But you guys can have some goals and expectations you want to.
Right.
Because that would be good to know.
yeah. So I think you could help the county and would be good. I just struggle with the,
Yeah, I get that.
how do we,
What happens in here is a business.
right,
I consider it a business. That's how I ran the county before. I
Right.
consider it my own money.
it is your money.
I know.
tax dollars, yeah,
I just dealt with it like it was actually out of my checking account.
yeah,
That makes me feel more comfortable with Dustin helping us hire the new engineer, because he is a taxpayer in Harrison County and is gonna look out for what's best for all of us.
whatever decision that you folks make, looking at the rest of the state, it's taking between 6 months to a year to find an engineer. So whomever you're plugging into that hole and whatever decision you're making, it's really not a short-term decision, especially if your job hasn't been advertised.
Right.
I mean, that should have gone out immediately upon discovery that Mr. Stribble was retiring.
so yeah, I would say, once Tony's here next week, if we can discuss actual fact, specifics.
Yeah, so you guys need to come up with a listing and then I can get it to County Engineer Service Bureau, blast it out to DOT and all sorts of places. And then can kind of go from there depending on what you want to spend, because it costs money obviously to hire HR type services or headhunting services or whatever.
Well, I would like to see it put in the local paper. Is that, just a simple,
Yeah, but you need to come up with something, is what I'm saying, because people are, I don't know the statistic, but if you don't have a number of what you're gonna pay, you're not gonna get people to call as easily.
Right.
That's one big deal.
But we can't really do anything anyway until it has to be posted publicly, right? Before you can, or does it, with this kind of job?
I don't know that
I
one.
don't know what you're saying.
I believe it's appointed, so the attorney would know the best. Sorry, I forgot.
Do we have to have it in the paper before we can actually hire, or if someone comes along, can we just hire them if they?
I mean, I would think that any county would want to have as many applicants as possible to decide what person is most qualified. I would think that you would not want to knee jerk and just hire the first person who rolls into your office and asks for the job. So my recommendation would be that you advertise and hold interviews. As far as Iowa law, I mean, if you want to hire the next person that you meet that has a certification in county engineer.
No, but I mean, I just didn't know if we had to post it in the newspaper before we could even do interviews
Are you talking for temporary or permanent?
permanent. I'm talking for permanent.
Well, I think you have to reach out and see what the interest is out there. Like Dustin said, you have to put a dollar amount with it. You're not gonna have anybody apply until they know what it pays. Winona County spent a year with no applicants, then they had to raise what their pay would be. I think they hired at 140.
So basically, next week, put on the agenda to, once Tony's here, to get specifics with Dustin and do the, even just the local ad that we want to put out, just in the newspaper, just so we've got one out there.
I think you should put it on the agenda to motion to post it in the papers, for sure.
Right. We'll talk to you next week.
And there is, Rebecca, there's a guide that's put out by the Department of Transportation that I can send you that will outline their recommendations on filling a vacancy.
Okay.
That may be valuable.
Pretty useful. It's all
You
spelled
have
out.
multiple places that you can post.
The biggest one is through what she's talking about. It'll get it to the right bureaus and then they'll send it around. But like I said, that's mostly calling for people that are in a county or state job already because they don't get that email out in the public.
Right.
Then you put it out to other sources and you're good.
Right, the chances of it generating something in the local paper, probably not as good,
No.
but at least they, it was there. At least we put it there. People can't say, oh, we didn't know that job was,
For sure.
open.
Right, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Dustin.
Michelle, you are our only one.
I just had a comment on your action description on your temporary county engineer. I think that it's great. Last week you mentioned that you were going to reach out to somebody. Somebody was willing to come forward, and I think that he's professional. I think that I was disappointed to hear that one of you said that you had concerns because he's your neighbor. I don't think that there should be a time when you're concerned about somebody being your neighbor. Your position is to think about what the county is as a whole and how that's going to help the county. And so I'm just disappointed to hear that maybe you might have some personal, I don't know what I would say, something personal that you don't want to have somebody like that. But I think that anytime you can reach out to somebody in the county that's very professional, very competent in their leadership and their knowledge is great. And there's my comment.
Thank you. All right, any of the electeds have anything for us? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Before I make a motion or I second your motion, your policy says that you're not allowed to, personal attacks. Might want to be a little careful on that.
I don't believe I was doing a personal attack.
Just saying. I will second the motion to adjourn.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.